Hello, and welcome to episode 26 of the Brain Cancer Podcast. Before we get going today, I want to say thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to tune in and just listen to the show. It means a lot to me, and you all are the primary reason that I love doing this. I think just starting this as a side project is one of the best things that I've ever done. I've met so many amazing people. And this is one of the, if not the best community to be a part of because we all support each other. We all know how it is. And for anybody that is new, you're more than welcome to the club that nobody wants to be in. In this episode, I want to talk about some of the 2021 changes from the World Health Organization CNS tumor update. The previous update was in 2016, so it is 5 years in the making. This is a fairly significant update. I will try and do the best that I can to try and break things down as I normally do. There are quite a few changes to go through, but I'm going to start with the simple changes. Traditionally, the World Health Organization uses Arabic numerals, which is your basic 1, 2, 3, and 4, whereas previously brain tumors and CNS tumors were using Roman numerals, which is your I, V. You know what I mean. The reason for the change is to both comply with the World Health Organization's standardized grading, as well as making it less likely that an input error could possibly cause a problem for somebody who was supposed to be graded a grade 2 and then they accidentally put in a grade 1 or a grade 3. And it's the same for if it was supposed to be a grade 3 and it was only a grade 2, you're going to have some problems, whereas your traditional Arabic numerals are 1, 2, 3, and 4, but they all look differently. This is a small change, but a very important one, and it will help reduce any sort of input errors that could lead to any conflicts with the patient and the doctor. The big change is they have added, I think it was 14 new tumor types. The big thing that we have to go over here is that they wanted to start grading within types. So what they want to do is now, quote, a layered report structure, where the histological features, grading, and molecular information will be combined to form one integrated diagnosis. This is a huge update because in the past 5-6 years, we've learned how important some of these markers, such as your IDH mutation, methylation status, and other key markers such as your 1p19q co-deletion status. The reasoning for grading within types, it was done for several reasons. One, to provide more flexibility in using grade relative to the tumor type. 2, to emphasize biological similarities within tumor types rather than approximate clinical behavior. And finally, to conform with WHO grading in non-CNS tumor types. In addition, they have completely removed the term anaplastic. So what was previously known as an anaplastic astrocytoma is now referred to as an astrocytoma, IDH mutant CNS WHO grade 3. While your reports and your diagnosis may be a little bit longer now, it's meant so that you can get the best treatment that is specific to your situation. And molecular grading is more important than ever now. There's actually a very good section of this paper that I do want to read, and I will try and explain it a little bit. We start with, the above approach to grading is a compromise, since the original underlying prognostic correlations were based on natural history at a time when few effective therapies were available. Today, estimating natural history is nearly impossible, since practically all patients receive therapies that are often affecting overall survival. In the context of modern therapies that can dramatically affect patient survival, the necessity of grading every tumor type is questionable. In fact, in editorial discussions for WHO CNS 5, which is the 2021 update we're talking about, it was argued that grades should not be assigned if designation of a grade would confuse clinical care. For instance, WNT-activated medulloblastoma is an embryonal tumor that has an aggressive behavior if left untreated, but that is responsive to current therapeutic regimens such that nearly all patients have long-term survival. Designating this tumor as a grade 4 and therefore equivalent to many untreatable pediatric brain tumors with a dismal outcome potentially risks giving a false sense of prognosis when therapeutic options are discussed in the clinic. Conversely, designating this tumor as CNS WHO grade 1 on the basis of its good outcome, and therefore equivalent to neoplasms with a similar prognosis on the basis of surgery alone, certainly gives a false sense that the tumor is biologically benign. Now, what does that all mean? Essentially, it means that our treatments have come so far and we are now able to identify so many more mutations that can both affect treatment options and your general prognosis that it doesn't make sense to just base things as grades 1, 2, 3, and 4. Instead, they are aiming for a more organized list of brain tumor types and subtypes, and they are calling this clinico-pathological grading. They have added molecular features specifically to the grading schema and may supersede histological features. For example, an IDH wild-type astrocytoma with low-grade histologic features can be considered grade 3 glioblastoma in the presence of EGFR amplification, TERT promoter mutation, or a combined gain of chromosome 7 and loss of chromosome 10. Each tumor type has been given certain essential diagnostic criteria necessary for a specific diagnosis, as well as additional non-essential but nonetheless desirable criteria. So for an actual diagnosis, there will be a specific set of criteria that this tumor must meet, as well as having desirable diagnostic criteria, which would be any mutations or markers that would be, I don't want to use the word desirable because they use it in there, but I think that's what I'm going to have to use. They are desirable and they will improve your treatment options. Even though we are moving towards molecular markers playing a much bigger role in grading, diagnosing, and classifying brain tumors, they are still organized according to the cell of origin. For example, ependymal tumors or stellar region. We now have adult-type diffuse gliomas, which are astrocytoma, IDH mutant, oligodendroglioma, IDH mutant, and 1p19q co-deleted, and glioblastoma, IDH wild-type. We now have separate pediatric-type diffuse low-grade gliomas. We also have pediatric diffuse high-grade gliomas. This list continues on, but in essence, our tumors will still be graded based on what part of the brain or what cell they have originated from. My thought on this is a great move for both patients and doctors to help in diagnosing and treating our brain tumors. There are well over 100 different types of brain tumors and CNS tumors included in this new report. Our treatment options have come so far in the past 5 or 10 years. Even going back further, we now have so many different options. And I've mentioned this about statistics before. We're looking at statistics from 20 years ago. Temozolomide wasn't even invented 20 years ago. We have so many more long-term survivors than we have ever had before. This 2021 update is a step in the right direction, and this is not a one-and-done type thing. we can only assume that in 5 more years, we will have another update with even more improved criteria, which would accurately reflect our new treatment. I was kind of struggling with this episode a little bit because I'm not sure how much in detail to go, because there are so many different tumor types and we're all different. I will post a link to this if anybody would like to read it, as well as a link to Radiopedia, which has a pretty good breakdown on it as well. I know for me personally, I enjoy reading this type of stuff, and it really helps me understand what's going on both in my head as well as everybody else that's in the same situation as me and you. Whether we're patients or caregivers, we're always trying to find answers in a disease where there are often not as many answers as we would like. It is changing though. We are coming a long way in making more progress towards better and safer, more effective treatments for all of us. While none of us particularly want to be in the situations that we're in, I'm determined to make the best of it and live every day as best I can, while trying to keep bringing positivity to both people that I know, that I don't know, and the world in general. We have so many other issues going on right now across the world, and it can be frightening. And then you throw on a brain tumor diagnosis, and that certainly doesn't make it any easier. I just hope that if you're taking the time out of your day to listen to me, I can at least be a little bit of an escape. We're constantly being overrun with news and more bad news. We don't need more bad news. We've already had enough. I just try and live the best life that I can. That's all. For anybody that is interested, I will be getting an MRI next week. This episode should be up before then. I will make an update episode after I get home from the hospital that day. Hopefully, we'll have some good news. I certainly have a feeling that we should have some good news. I also have a couple other episode ideas in the works. I'm sorry this wasn't the most detailed or best episode that I've done. I always try and improve on what I'm doing, but I could only really break down this so much because it's so complicated and there are so many different types and subtypes of brain tumors. This update, it's putting a lot more emphasis on our molecular markers and really separating tumors in a more detailed way so that we can get the best treatments, the treatments that we deserve. I think that about does it for this episode. It just started pouring outside, and I'm hoping you don't have to hear that in the background. But I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and listening to me. I appreciate it so much. I have met so many amazing people since I started this over 2 years ago, and I plan to keep going. You all mean so much to me. If you would like to, follow the page on Facebook. I post there every single day at facebook.com/braincancerpodcast. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/braincancerpod. You can email me anytime at braincancerpodcast@gmail.com. And never hesitate to reach out. If you need somebody to talk to, or if you want to give me a call, we can certainly arrange that either through Zoom or Discord or whatever works best for you. Please never hesitate to reach out, especially if you need any help. Make sure you subscribe as well, whether it's on Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and follow our show. As the rain is coming down outside, I think that's about time for me to call it for today. But don't worry, the sun will be back out. I hope you all have a great day or night, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.